One of his students is called Jabir ibn Hayyan. I don't know if you've heard the name Jabir ibn Hayyan. Jabir ibn Hayyan is considered to be, in today's language, a scientist. He dwelled on issues that pertain to what we call today physics and chemistry. And he was a close student of Imam Al Sadiq. In some, I don't like to use the word, but I have to, in some Sunni sources, historical books, Jabir ibn Hayyan is said to be رَجُلٌ فِيهِ تَشَيُّعٌ, which means this person has the influence of tashayyu' in him. It's another way of saying he's a pseudo-Shi'i. But he's however way you categorize him, he's known in his own right as being a scientist. Forget about his political or his fiqhi inclinations for a moment, but his output was strictly scientific. He had many works, books that dealt with what they called at the time al-kawniyat, which means the physical world around. And it is said that Jabir ibn Hayyan himself, well, at that time there was no publishing, but equivalent to publishing, about 500 works of Imam Al Sadiq. Now this is, I have to stop here just for a moment. I didn't put these in my notes, but I have to stop here for your own information. This is something that when we study the lifetime of the fuqaha, this is something that we come across for the first time. We encounter people who have a scientific mind, who are students of the fuqaha. When we studied the other faqihs and the other imams, I didn't come across the equivalent of Jabir ibn Hayyan as a student of the other scholars. So here, to put it in other words, the circle of teaching, I wanted to use the word pedagogy, but the circle of teaching expanded beyond the traditional fiqhi circle that was a characteristic of the contemporary fuqaha of that time, which we covered earlier on. And so Imam Al Sadiq himself was a person who was familiar and versed on this type of knowledge. Of course, not in a way that is conflictual with the Qur'an, or in a way that is incompatible with the Qur'an. No. His approach, his learning, his understanding, and his discourse on facts or reasoning that is scientific was in the Quranic and Islamic context. To go back and stimulate your memory a little also, remember that was the time when the philosophies of the known world, particularly European philosophies and Indian philosophies, had begun to seep into the Muslim world. Obviously, this also meant, even though with all of the special status that Mecca and Al-Medina had, particularly in Medina, Mecca, scholastically speaking, it didn't have much to give or offer. but Al-Madinah and Al-Kufa and Al-Basra and later on Baghdad and Damascus, these became magnets, intellectual magnets for the philosophies of the time that were not homegrown. In the Arab context of that time, the Arabian Peninsula and areas northwards and eastwards of it, where the Arabians were predominant, there was no such thing as philosophies. These were intellectual constructs that began to, because of the movement of Islam into the rest of the world, obviously there was going to be an input, a philosophical input into the internal Islamic mind. And obviously those who are scholars are going to be the first ones who are going to feel this philosophical wave moving in. And Imam Jafar al-Sadiq was during that time, and he was obviously aware, conscious of this taking place.